All right, let's go through this. So first, I'm going to comment out this particular function here because we'll be creating new ones. All right. Now, I'm going to create a total of 3 functions. I'm going to create one function that basically creates a head from some text. So a head of 20 characters, a heading of 20 characters that has an ellipse on the end. This is like a heading for a post. And so it's a little bit of the first part of the text, and then they can click on it and read more of the post. Okay, so it's that type of idea. So one function is going to do that. Another function is going to be formatting with HTML, paragraph tag, and the other function is going to be updating the DOM. Now the reason I decided to divide that out is because this function here, if I create it right, is something I believe I can reuse. And so is this one. If I have it pass in the class, and basically it would be adding a paragraph tag with whatever class I pass in. So that's just some of my thinking about making those different. Now, 2 of those are going to be pure. We want to make sure those are pure. The last one, updating the DOM, will not be. So let's go ahead and create a function, do ellipse head is what I'm going to call it. I want to describe exactly what it's doing. And in this, we're going to receive some text and then the length that I want to create the heading. So I'm modifying it a bit because I want to make it a little more usable. So what are we going to do? Well, we'll take that text and we'll slice it down. Slice basically is going to take a substring of that string, the text which is passed in. We'll start with character 0. That is the first character in the string. And then we're going to go all the way to the length passed in -3. Now the reason I'm subtracting 3 is because I want to add an ellipse at the end. And that's exactly what I'm going to do next. So I just do a concatenation character and then I do the 3 periods right there for the ellipse. Okay? And that's going to be returned. Since this is an arrow function, what is done here will be returned. And so that will have the text with the ellipse on the end. This is the amount that I'll pass in, so it's going to concatenate some of that and then put the ellipse on the end. Okay, so that's our first function. Is it pure? Well, if we pass in the same data, it should return the same thing every single time. And it doesn't have any side effects. We're not affecting anything outside of that function. All right, let's do the next one. This one I'm going to call do HTML head, because this is going to be adding HTML to it. And once again, I'm going to receive a text string and then a class name. That will be a string as well. And this is going to return something as well. And I'm going to use a template string to map this out. So we want a paragraph tag, and then inside that we want a class. I'm going to set that class equal to what? Well, it's the class that's passed in. So we need to access that variable right there. Then what do we add? Well, and I need to put quotes around that. Forgot that right there. That needs to have quotes around it. And then we can close off that paragraph tag. And that's where we want to put the text. So the text string that's passed in. So once again, we're going to access that variable. There we go. And we want to put txt there. And what do we put at the end of this string? Well, it's just our closing paragraph tag like that. All right, so that is going to take the text that's passed in and the class that's passed in and format that into an HTML node and return it. And then we're able to take that node and update the DOM. So this one's going to be called select and update div, specifying that it's a div that we want to update. We're going to receive a div name, and then we're going to receive the string that we should update it with. I'm going to put curly braces here because I'm doing more than one line. So first I want to select that div. So we'll declare a variable here and set that equal to document.getElementById. There we go. And the ID is going to be that div name. So we just pass that into that get element by ID method there. Then we want to set the div.inner HTML to what? Well, we're setting that to the text that's passed in. And really that's probably not the best naming for that variable there, since it's a HTML node. Probably could do a better naming there, but we'll leave it like that for now, since we're really doing a simplistic exercise here. So we have these three functions. Now I want to show you something that I want you to start getting used to with functional programming. How I'm going to call these, all right? So I'm going to put these two together. I'll keep this one separate because this one's updating the DOM, but technically I could put them all together, but I'll mention that in a minute. But I'm going to create a variable here, a new post, and that's going to be equal to do ellipse head. And what do we pass into that? Well, we're going to pass in this text string here. That's the one that's creating a head from. And what else are we passing in? We want a length of 20. Okay. Whoops. So that is going to go ahead and create that first bit of text for us with first bit of heading for us with an ellipse on the end. Now what gets returned here is going to be passed into this function in that variable right there. So I'm going to combine these together. So I'm going to call do HTML head, and then parentheses are here. That is what is returned from this function is the first parameter for do HTML head. So I go ahead and make that the first parameter. Then I do a comma, and the second parameter is going to be the class. And what class do we want it to be? That is post, and that's a string. So that's the second parameter, and then I close my parentheses like that. So what I'm doing is I'm combining these functions together. Now, like I said, I could also do select and update div. I could add that out here and get that passed in for this variable. But as you begin doing more and more of this, it gets pretty messy. But later on in this section, we'll look at how we build functions together to accomplish a particular thing we're trying to do. We'll talk about how we do that in a manner that is more legible and is easier to read. All right. So I'll just go ahead and put the second call down here, which is going to be select and update div, and the div name. Whoops, I think I said that. I think I said we'd pass this in there. It's actually this string we want to pass in. That's what we're going to update it with. This is the div name here. So I want to put that as a div name. That's still a string that identifies that div name, and then we want to pass in new post like that. Okay. We've got this old code commented out. Let me go ahead and save that, and let's take a look at the HTML and see if it has it showing, and it does down here. So pretty simple exercise, but give you a chance to do a little bit of refactoring into pure functions. Now, throughout the rest of this, or the majority of the rest of this section, I'm going to be presenting features of functional programming. And we won't be doing exercises until we get towards the end of that, because I want to put all these FP features together at the end. And we'll do something at the end that will show all this together. All right? So let's get into those additional features we need to talk about.